Welcome. It's November 9th, and this is what we did in class today. I apologize for being late, um, but I had to think at the last minute some things went awry. So, anyway, what we are talking about today is structural elements in informational text. So, I just want to give you a little update on how this is going to be run. Okay, so this is exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to cover informational text. We're going to cover the structural elements of info text. We're going to look at blackout poetry. You will download your own informational text over some social issue. You will break down that informational text by structural elements. You will then create a blackout poem using your informational text. Friday, it will be a CBA, and this will be a major grade. Next week, CSWA2, major grade. Okay, so I'm just mapping it out for you. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. So if you would, pay close attention to what we're doing here. Okay, so the structural elements in an informational text are as such, okay? An informational text is to inform readers about a topic. So if there's an informational text about COVID and why it's bad, then that's what it's going to be about. There's going to be a thesis, which is what we call a controlling idea, the overall message that the text is trying to convey. So if there's a thesis, that means that this is what I'm going to be talking about. If I get an informational text that is about COVID and how to avoid it, that's the thesis. Facts, details, examples, opinion, and evidence. These are supporting concepts about the topic. I can't just say, hey, COVID is bad, you should avoid it. And see you later. Okay. I have to give facts. I have to give details. I have to give examples. And I have to share my opinion. I have to give evidence of why my thesis should be listened to. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is the conclusion. Okay. This is where we restate the thesis and we summarize the main points. It's kind of like a last ditch effort to make sure that your point was made. It's sort of like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you all this information about COVID and how to avoid it. And just in case you weren't listening, here's what I talked about. Bang, bang, bang. And then make sure you stay away from COVID and you take care of yourself. Okay. So anyway, that's the last ditch effort to make sure that the informational text was listened to. So here's an example. If I got a blog post and it was about, excuse me, it was about minimalism. Minimalism is not a universally known thing, so probably the next thing that I would want to do structurally is I would want to define what minimalism is. Okay, minimalism is the concept of owning less in order to provide yourself more time for what is important. And I would give examples. Okay, now I'm a minimalist, but I don't think I'm a very exciting example. But there is a guy who is a minimalist who he carries around all 72 of his belongings in a backpack and a carry-all bag, and he travels all over the world and he blogs and he talks about it, and his audience decides where he wants to go. That would be a really good example to use because he has an interesting life. Okay, there's a reason to push minimalism when you're talking about that guy, not me, not some 46-year-old teacher, who doesn't make a lot of money and who has a very stressful job and deals with a lot of student anger. So yeah, I wouldn't be the person. You need to explain how it benefits you. Okay, why would you want to do minimalism? What is the benefit of it? Well, less stress, healthier life, sleep better, your health, just all sorts of things. You tell how it can be done, okay? In order for you to get involved in minimalism, you need to go through your house and you need to take inventory and find out what is important to me. If something was burning in my house, what would I run into my house to get to make sure that I had it for all time? Like, what would I risk my life for? What do I own that has such a sentimental value to it that I don't want to get rid of it? And that's pretty much how you do it. And then, of course, you conclude it. Okay, I'm going to cover all these things again very quickly just to make sure that I got my message across. Okay, so what we're going to end up doing is you're going to pull up some sort of social issue. Okay, it could be depression, could be social media, could be peer pressure, parent pressure, academic pressure, suicide, fitting in, popularity. It could be all sorts of things, okay? These are things that we could be looking at. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go home, you're going to look online for an article about your social pressure. You're going to download it, and then you're going to go through all of these things and you're going to find the thesis. You're going to find their facts and their details and their examples. You're going to find the conclusion, and you're going to put all that together. Then what you're going to do is create a blackout poem. This is a blackout poem. Okay, a blackout poem is when a poet takes a marker to an already written text and begins marking out parts, leaving certain words until the poem is formed. There should be a connection between the subject of the new poem and the original text. So if you look here, this was originally a text, and then they blacked everything out except these words, and they made a poem. The biggest crowds look like a surfboard at the water surface, unmanned for about a year. So here's another example. Night came down by her and watched her mouth. And of course, look at what they did. They blacked out everything using lines. They drew a moon. They blacked out these black clouds right here. This is a really cool one over here. They blacked out everything except a hand. And then they drew squares around the things that they wanted to be a part of their poem. I wouldn't go that far so long as you avoid evil. I do not think that the sneaky is the way to go. Well, whatever happens, keep me posted. I am curious, although I don't want to get too close. Not everybody finds somebody that they can be happy being miserable with. Honestly, that's one of my favorite ones. Really, really good. Okay. I turned inward to wish of skylarks and breezes, and they blacked everything out, and then they allowed themselves a place to draw skylarks. This one is really cool. It's kind of like, look, if I don't have a way to make a poem because, like, there's a word that I need, but it should be up here, then you can kind of make a path. The key is to have the good news in you. Pretty good. This one is a newspaper, and they blacked out the image of a grim reaper, and then they wrote, "Run, we are here. Flood be night. No family, no city will be left behind. Death is near." Okay, that one's awesome. Love that one. This one, they drew some tea or coffee, and they drew some smoke, and then they drew circles around the words that they wanted to stick out. My father, he sank warily into very pale coffee. This one is a little kid walking through the woods, and it says, "The child without a voice wandered lost." This one, I actually when I recorded this one, I thought, you know what? I want to find an easy one just in case like this is hard for somebody. But it actually turned out to be one of the most difficult because what they did is they found words all over the page and then they drew lines to it. So Berkeley could choose to believe in a course of action that would create justice. And of course, they did this over a newspaper clipping about the federal government cracking down on cannabis. So I'm kind of curious about what that's for. Maybe this one was a teen romance drama. I would still, for some reason, linked with her eyes. And then they drew this picture of this pretty girl here with beautiful eyes. Here's the call of the sea. Brilliant beyond all words, the night then drew away and hung sullen and red, like lowering gods to watch chasms like hell. Mighty and vast, the day was hidden by its own sky. This is really cool stuff. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to download your own informational article. just pick a page, pick it apart, look for the structural elements, and then create a blackout poem. I'm going to do one myself, probably over a blog post, and put it together. And I'm really excited about this. So anyway, this is what we're going to be doing. This is what we did in class today, and uh, and then this is the other thing that we did. So I handed out this to everybody, bullying in early adolescence, the role of the peer group. So this is an informational text. And what I basically did was I looked for the thesis statement. So here's the thesis statement right here. Okay. This digest looks at limited research available on the role of the peer group in bullying to learn more about how bullying and victimization might emerge and continue during early adolescence. So then the very next thing that they did is they decided, well, you know what, let's define what bullying is. And then they give this. Definitions of bullying often differ systematically. There's one concept in common. Bullying is a subtype of aggression. And then they wrote down some other examples of bullying. Okay, right here, right here, and then they went into, so you got to identify the topic sentences, okay? During early adolescence, the function and importance of the peer group has changed dramatically, setting the stage for bullying in middle school. Research with elementary school children in other countries supports the view that peer group members reinforce the maintain and bullying. And then over here, they talked about Canadian kids because they're talking about other countries, and they talked about kids in Finland. Okay, so that explains that. The transition to middle school, okay? Peer dynamics associated with bullying during the transition from elementary school to middle school, okay? So that's what it's going to be about. They give some data, okay? And then they end with a conclusion where they restate the thesis. They say, we cannot assume that bullying among young adolescents is simply a simple interaction between the bully and the victim. So that's what we did. We looked at this informational text and we broke it down based on its thesis statement, its topic sentences, the evidence and the data, and then of course the conclusion. And that's how we did that. All of this stuff is going to be available to you here on Canvas, so just make sure that you download all 3 links and that you keep up with the class. I'll meet you guys and I'll see you guys soon.